Hi, this is Kenneth Stubblefield, and I'll be presenting on the development of oral reading fluency. Reading fluency is an important skill developed in the language learning environment with the development of reading skills. And reading is very important because we use it every day of our life. It's the basis for all instruction and the building block to all other learning. And so the development of reading skills and reading fluency should be a crucial aspect of language learning curriculum. Throughout the course of this presentation, I'll be discussing 4 important questions. The first being, what is reading fluency? Then we'll talk about what activity increases reading fluency. The third question is, what theories align with this activity? And then we will talk about what research says about this activity. So what is reading fluency? Reading fluency is the ability to accurately read a text at a conversational rate with appropriate prosody. Learners who can read fluently correctly decode words, they recognize known words, they read with speed, and they show variation in pitch, stress, and tone. When students decode a word, they turn the written form of a word into a spoken word with meaning, and this can be developed through practice and vocabulary development. And as students have more practice with decoding words, this increases word recognition, and word recognition is an important aspect of fluency because it's an automatic recognition of the word so that the student doesn't have to decode and spend as much cognitive power on trying to figure out what that word is. When someone reads, there's 3 types of actions that are involved. They're fixation, so being fixated on particular words in the text. There's saccades, which is jumping to the next item in the text. Regressions are movements back to an item in the text. And so, as learners become more fluent readers, the amount of fixations, saccades, and regressions decrease, and therefore their reading speed and accuracy increases. So what activity increases reading fluency? One activity that has widely been used in the language learning classroom is the 4-3-2 activity that was developed by Paul Nation. In this activity, L2 learners are asked to read a text to different partners 3 times with an increasing amount of time pressure. So for the first reading, they have 4 minutes, the second reading, they have 3 minutes, and the third reading, they have 2 minutes. Since doing something over and over helps someone get better at it, you know the phrase, practice makes perfect, the repetition in this activity is used to develop fluency. And there are 2 distinguishing features of the 4-3-2 activity. One being the immediate nature of the task repetition. So instead of the repetition taking place over the course of time, it's immediate. They're doing this back to back to back. And the other feature is the shrinking time window in which learners perform the task. So as the time pressure increases, it's believed that this will help the learner perform the task at a quicker speed with less hesitations and a higher speech rate. So what theories does this align with? The first theory that this aligns with is Leuvelt's speech production model. And since the 4-3-2 activity is a variation of a speech activity, a lot of things that also will help reading developmency are also helping speech fluency. Leuvelt and his speech production model say that the production of speech consists of 3 systems: the conceptualizer, the formulator, and the articulator. The conceptualizer decides on content, the formulator retrieves the linguistic means to encode that content, and the articulator turns the encoded content into articulated speech. And this idea is helpful in producing reading fluency because the demands on the conceptualizer and formalizer decrease through repetition activities such as the 4-3-2. And this occurs because decisions about content do not need to be made anymore, and the words and structures that were needed to be decoded are more readily available due to recent activation and recent decoding. When the generation of new content is not needed, the final stage of speech production is better monitored, producing a more fluent speech. The second theory that this activity aligns with is Pigotsky's Socio-Cultural theory. This approach to second language acquisition describes learning as a collaborative activity with other members of that language. And one of the major aspects of the 4-3-2 activity is collaboration since the learners form pairs. One member of each pair in the activity is the reader, and one member is the listener. When time is up, learners switch pairs, and the readers read the text again to a different listener. Therefore, students have multiple opportunities to collaborate with more learners and experience more interactions. It has also been noted that this switching of partners is important after each time reading in order to avoid the speaker feeling the obligation to vary the content of the reading, which would negatively affect fluency. So what does research say about this? Mohamed and Karkia's study, this study sought to determine the effect of the 4-3-2 activity on students speaking fluency. It looked at 65 students studying in an English institute. They were asked to utilize the 4-3-2 technique by producing a delivery of a text. Deliveries were recorded, transcribed, and analyzed for influence on fluency, grammatical accuracy, and control of content. Fluency is often checked by calculating the number of words spoken per minute, so that was done in this study. And in nearly all deliveries of this study, fluency increased in the third version, as marked by speed, accuracy, and control of content. So, this activity should be used in developing reading fluency in the language learning classroom, since it has shown in this study, as well as others, that it has a positive effect on fluency. Another study conducted by De Jong and Parfetti sought to determine the 4-3-2 activity's long-term effects on fluency. This has been questioned whether the fluency that they experience in their third reading is a short-term fluency, or if this can be long-term and if it can be carried over to different topics. This study also included students at an ESL institute, and all students performed the activity 3 times over the course of 2 weeks. According to the results, the repetition group significantly improved their fluency and transferred that fluency to new topics compared to the non-repetition group. And so, although some researchers have questioned long-term effects of repetition tasks on fluency, this study shows that the proceduralization that takes place through repetition tasks changes the processing of knowledge that enables fluent production. So, in conclusion, one reading fluency activity that could be utilized in a language learning environment is the 4-3-2 activity. In this activity, students read the same text to a different listener 3 times with a reduced amount of time each reading. This activity aligns with Leuvelt's speech production model as well as Pigotsky's Socio-Cultural theory. The 4-3-2 activity has been well researched and has proven in research that it is an effective technique in the development of reading fluency among all language learners.